brain that just kind of rambles. Hey, what is happening, sports fans, especially scripted sports fans? We are not.
Great going, Doug.
It's leap year. I'm not used to doing a show on the 29th of February.
That's true. It is leap year and a Thursday, and we're used to being on Sundays. But darn it, Doug, that AEW, that Tony Khan, he's got a show on Sunday, and really we don't want to. They're all big shows, and it'll go like 12 hours, and so there's no available time in the day that the Two Bros Wrestling Show could go live that we wouldn't be interfering. So that's why we're going live today.
Absolutely. Whew.
It is our main event tonight that we will be discussing everything about AEW Revolution, including our predictions and a little appreciation for a little somebody who is retiring on Sunday. But Doug, before we get into any of that,
let's go. Hit that opening bell.
Let's go.
Let's do this.
We got some news. Going to start tonight with financial news, which, we're not a financial news program typically, but
are we changing our demo? What's going on?
We're also not scripted sport, whatever words Doug used earlier, show either. So tonight we're going to do finance.
I'm sure they're not English that I used earlier. They're not English. I don't know words. Don't know words.
Well, let's talk numbers, Doug. We're going to start tonight with TKO's fourth quarter earnings call. And the reason I'm starting with this is because there's just a lot of news and really good information that came out of this call, things we didn't know before. We'll do the financial part first. This is the very first quarter, though, where the UFC WWE merger has led to an entire 4-month period that we can report upon. If you remember, obviously the merger happened in September, which meant that the previous call that referred to WWE was only for partial earnings. So this is how this merger is going to look. We got for the fourth quarter, they reported a revenue of $614 million with adjusted EBITDA of $223.2 million. WWE's portion of that was a profit of $331.2 million. The majority of these revenues on each brand, both UFC and WWE, came from media rights, followed by live events, which in both instances were up. Naturally, on the call, they were very bullish on the Netflix deal. Also revealed that they were looking for a temporary solution for where Raw can possibly air for the 3-month period between the USA deal ending, the Netflix deal beginning. Obviously, they're still partners with USA, so it's possible they could just extend it by 90 days. They could go to the, obviously they could maybe go to the streaming platform, some options there, but there is right now that three months where Raw will not be on anything as it currently stands.
Well, they could always, broadcast on our channel. I'm willing to give up 3 hours on a Monday night for them. We're not doing shows on Mondays. So.
Yeah, we're typically not going on Mondays. That'd be fine. Give us a call.
Right, we are available and willing to negotiate.
Trips, I guess. I was almost out of habit. I almost said McMahon.
I know there are no McMahons there. No McMahons in the WWE. What?
Which is a great segue because during the call, we also learned who is replacing Vince McMahon as chairman of WWE following the exit, of course, in the wake of his sex trafficking scandal, which is still weird to say, but TKO CEO Ari Emanuel has also been named executive chairman of WWE, replacing Vince. But Vince, the man is gone, but he ain't gone. So he was very much a big part of the conversation of this call. TKO executives stating on the call that Vince still, quote, has a significant portion of the voting power. Yes, and of course, they were asked lots of questions about that. They admitted they had no insight into McMahon's plans, whether or not he would be selling any of his remaining stakes in the company. They also stated in lots of legalese that TKO had assumed $3.5 million in liabilities related to future payments Vince to, quote, certain counterparties that Vince is expected to pay directly. Read between the lines there. Again, this was all in the filings that came out as a result of the call, but that's obviously in reference to the various hush money payments that Vince owes those who have claimed he has sexually harassed them.
Can you actually assault someone, have them sign an NDA and pay them? I mean, does the law really work like that? I mean, as long as you sign this agreement, you know, regardless of what I did to you, it's okay.
If you take the money,
I don't know. Is that a thing?
Of course, in the case of Vince, who apparently stopped paying the bills, now the NDA is null and void.
Oh, I want a refund on my NDA. This whole thing is just so confusing and so bizarre, especially with such a level of accusations of like sex trafficking. Is that okay if you can get somebody to sign an NDA? Is that how that works?
That is also very much part of the conversation that TKO is having, and that is, what do we do with our Vince McMahon-sized problem?
Right.
You'll find this interesting, Doug, if you didn't see this. There was, again, a lot that came out of this call. So in addition to Vince's replacement being named, there was a lot of other corporate reshufflings, including, there was a gentleman who was the previous long-term creative director, now has the new title of Director of Character Development. Some interesting things like that. But the one that really got my attention, and I'm sure you'll see why if you didn't hear this, it's related to the Vince situation. Okay. There is actually a job now. Stephen Coonan. Don't know who you are, Stephen Coonan. Probably not from the world of professional wrestling, but kudos to you, sir, for the task you have taken on, because Stephen Coonan has been appointed the lead independent director of the McMahon allegations and how it relates to TKO. There is literally someone now whose entire role is directly related to Vince's troubles and what they may cause or open up TKO for future, liabilities, damages. There's got to be, we must be at the tip of the iceberg if they're actually hiring damage control where some person's whole job is to figure out how this is going to affect us.
What does the resume have to look like? What is the job description for this?
He may have been, with the Jeffrey Epstein case, or maybe he was previously on Weinstein. I mean, what qualifies you for this position? Who knows? But that is going to be interesting to follow what Stephen Coonan is up to over the next few months. We might need to try to, stalk him a little bit to get the insight.
Godspeed you, good sir.
One last bit of news coming from that call, Doug. But that is also related to some issues the WWE's had, not Vince related. Well, I guess technically they are, since it would have happened under his tenure. But the thanks to the call, we know a little bit now about the amount that WWE paid MLW in December to put an end to the antitrust lawsuit that MLW had long been pursuing against WWE. So they settled. We knew they settled. Of course, when you settle, both parties are hush about it. But because of the filings, we know that in the last quarter, WWE paid out $34.2 million in costs related to litigation in general. Of that $34 million, a full $20 million for both WWE and UFC. They didn't break it out, but a full $20 million of that was the antitrust settlement paid to MLW.
Wow.
So good for you, MLW. That's a good chunk of change for an independent promotion. Wow. MLW, of course, had accused WWE of interfering with the company's potential TV deals with both Vice as well as the streaming service Tubi. Two deals that were pretty much in place until Vince McMahon and WWE kind of nixed both. So Court Bauer, use that $20 million well and lock up some of the guys that keep leaving you.
Or maybe just pick up some of that New Japan talent that just keeps bleeding from over there.
We're going to get to that too. But before I do, while we're still on WWE and money, WWE doesn't want you to know the details of its bidding process with cities that they go to for their larger events. The WWE has actually filed a lawsuit against the Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, in an attempt to block the release of bidding information related to the 2023 Royal Rumble that took place in San Antonio. The website WrestleNomics, many of you watching us probably familiar with WrestleNomics, they filed a public information request last January to obtain the public records related to the Rumble, including info on attendance, sales, the communications between WWE and the city. The city of San Antonio, at first, they rejected disclosing, but then the Attorney General reverse course stepped in and required that this be released. WWE has now argued that this would reveal trade secrets to their competition and that the bidding process is covered under those trade secrets. Again, read between the lines here. WWE just does not want you to know what kind of financial subsidies are being provided to WWE for bringing their big events to town. You just take a quick look at the pay-per-view schedule the last few years, and it becomes pretty obvious that there are cities that they go to multiple times. Tampa is one. San Antonio is another. The ones that they hit regularly, you know, they got themselves a pretty sweet deal to keep coming back to town, and they just don't want you to know how sweet that deal is. But kudos to a bunch of wrestling geeks on the internet making WWE sweat it here.
Oh, wow. WWE just doesn't want us to know.
Does not want you to know. But enough of WWE for right now, Doug. Let's move to another Fed. TNA, Impact. Right. They're also making changes. Not just the recent firing of Scott D'Amore, which we've talked about. Impact, they do have some momentum behind them. They actually had to add seats here lately to their recent pay-per-view. They oversold. So they're continuing with this momentum, and they're trying to put that into next year, which apparently 2025, the little engine that could, TNA, plans to stop having these tape shows where they do like a month's worth at a time. They're going to go to weekly live broadcasts on Access every Thursday, opposite like us right now. So sorry, TNA fans watching this. But different venues are being explored, one of which is Full Sail University, famously NXT's home for years prior to the pandemic and them moving to the Performance Center. So keep going, TNA.
Awesome. Good for them.
Quick bit of free agent news, Doug. You kind of touched on it earlier. We can't go a show without a few updates. So we'll soon know if the rumors are true. But it very much appears that AEW may have gained the services of both Mercedes Moné, former Sasha Banks, and Kazuchika Okada. But WWE isn't leaving empty-handed in this scenario. Further reports have that we should soon get an announcement on Tama Tonga, nephew of the legendary Haku, having signed with WWE. So, again, poor New Japan. I don't know, Doug. I think that you and I are going to have to see if we can maybe get in the ring. I mean, I think if we ever had a chance, it's now.
Well, you're the one that's been to wrestling school.
That's true. I have been trained by the same. I can do a swerve.
I can do like the Prince Nana dance, and you can be my swerve.
I think we should just do that for the rest of the hour, Doug. Just you doing the Prince Nana dance. It's a great dance. It's a lot of fun.
It is good stuff.
Two more bits of information here. We'll get to our main event. But Dark Side of the Ring has revealed its premiere. We all love that show here. The Vice series returns on Tuesday. The first episode of season 5 is related to Earthquake, a.k.a. John Tenta, a former sumo wrestler who turned pro wrestler in the 80s. Those of us old enough to remember, he had a pretty successful run. Passed away 2008 at the age of 42 from cancer. Interesting life. Should be an interesting episode.
Awesome.
And then finally, tonight, it would definitely, we cannot end our opening bell segment without acknowledging the passing of two classics, really, who we
Absolutely.
lost this week. The first one, I mean, we lost one of the original Horsemen, Ole Anderson, real name Alan Rogowski,
Mhm.
died at the age of 81. He'd left a huge mark on the world of pro wrestling. He became a storyline brother to Gene Anderson in 1968. Replacing Lars Anderson as part of the legendary Minnesota Wrecking Crew. They would win numerous tag championships, including the world championships of many federations at the time in the territory era, and then, of course, he would later replace Gene with the younger storyline brother, who they would call Arn. Obviously, with Arn Anderson, they have won many more championships, including the World Tag Team Championships. You add in Tully, Rick, JJ in 1986, and next thing you know, we got that right there.
Yeah, we do.
Greatest faction in the history of pro wrestling, without question. And he would be the first of the Four Horsemen to leave the group. He would retire, then came back, but then retired again. His in-ring career, though, wasn't the only thing legendary about Ole. During much of the period of time we just discussed in the 80s, he was the booker as well for Georgia Championship Wrestling, would also go on to have lengthy stints as head of creative and as the booker in WCW in the 90s. We can't, though, fail to mention the fact that Ole was famously not easy to get along with or work with, including amongst his horseman peers. There are a lot of stories out there from wrestlers on having to deal with Ole Anderson and the saltiness of Ole Anderson. But regardless of all of that, his influence, his mark on wrestling, unquestionable. Absolutely unquestionable.
Absolutely.
And then we also, of course, have to say goodbye to Virgil, former WWF star, best known as the $1 Million Man's bodyguard / manservant. Died at the too young age of only 61. Real name, Michael Jones. We don't have a cause of death as of this time, but his wrestling career began just before he signed with WWE in the mid-'80s. He was also known during his career as both Vincent and Soul Train Jones. So condolences to the families and friends of both Ole and Virgil.
Absolutely.
Doug,
main event time.
With that bit of sad news, let's just go ahead and talk happy stuff.
Let's get into it. Let me get my iPad open. Okay, there we go.
We got as always, Doug, we have a stack card.
Well, it is an AEW pay-per-view. It's really just like 3 matches, but it'll last 12 hours, like you said.
It will last 12 hours.
It is let's talk about matches, but
let's start with the match that actually isn't happening. Sorry, Doug, you don't get your meat madness. I know Doug was really hoping for some meat madness.
I love me some meat madness, Kevin. You've known me a long time, and there's one thing I love more than anything. It's big, meaty men slapping each other around.
And that's why he will not order the pay-per-view now, because no more meat madness.
Nope.
Yeah, the All-Star Scramble match that was supposed to be what we called meat madness basically has been scrapped due to injury. The 3 participants that had been announced, you had Wardlow, Powerhouse Hobbs, Lance Archer, but I'm not sure who all else was supposed to participate or how many injuries and to whom Tony was referring to. But essentially, Wednesday night, he pulled the plug, and all he said was that, the injury taking folks out. Reportedly, Keith Lee, maybe Miro, 2 of the other. I mean, I guess we have to think of the big meaty men of AEW that could be in this ridiculously named thing. We're probably all the better with that name, and just another multi-person mess of a match, honestly, is probably what it was. A Tony Khan special at this point.
A Tony Khan special. Yeah, I think of those as, Tony's version of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and let's get some people on a pay-per-view kind of thing.
And he is famous for having those multi-person matches. So yeah, it's good. This one probably is put to bed for now, and maybe let's not revisit the term Meat Madness ever again.
Oh, come on.
With
Unless
that
meat
though,
is
Doug,
yes, yes. Yeah.
let's talk about the matches that are going to happen.
Let's do it.
Let's start with the FTR versus Blackpool Combat Club match. We got a lot of championship matches. We'll save those towards the end. I don't think this is going to be your opener, though, because of the talent involved in this. This has been a nice little feud, though. I kind of like this. This setup. I don't know what you thought about their interactions on TV, but I thought it's been pretty well put together.
It has been very well done. Last week, especially. This week too. Well done. It took a little while for things to get out of first gear this week, but when it did, oh my goodness! I'm happy with the way things are going. I can't wait to see this one because I mean that's some great talent in the ring. You got a couple of guys in there who aren't traditionally tag players against arguably the best in the business right now in the tag team division. So I'm very excited about this match.
I don't know who this favors. You'd think it would favor the team that is probably the best team on the planet, and in many people's estimation has been tag team of the year for several years running at this point. But I don't know that they won't go the other way. I have a feeling that this might extend beyond one pay-per-view, and in order for it to really do so, it makes more sense for John and Claudio to come out on top. So I'm actually going Blackpool Combat Club.
You know what? I've been thinking about this too, because I'm not even sure who's babyface and who's heel, because they're both such tweener. All these guys are all these. Blackpool's such a tweener stable anyway, and FTR depending. Everybody's tweener here, so actually, I think I want to agree with you here because it somebody has to come out of this clearly a babyface and clearly a heel, and I think FTR could be. Chasing and being a babyface would be good for FTR right now.
And John and Claudio have no trouble going full heel and cheating to win.
Absolutely.
And I expect they won't go over clean. And there's a good chance that John Moxley may bleed. Just saying.
I doubt it, man. I mean, he's so conservative with us with the color. So,
oh goodness. Doug, I want to talk the other non-title match that we have on our bill, and that is I guess, even though he's appeared before, maybe the first official since he is on the full-time roster now, Will Ospreay versus Konosuke Takeshita. And
good job,
man. Thank you. I think that's the first time on this show I actually did not butcher that.
Oh, I always
we got a Don Callis. We got a Don Callis special here, Doug. These are two of his boys, really, that he set up, and I know.
Are they though? I mean, are we going to see by the end of this, a rift in the family already? Because I got a feeling we are.
I got a feeling we are too, and it's going to be Will, who's not fully in camp. I think that's going to be the one that that doesn't appreciate Don's overly aggressive advances. Takeshita it's just absolutely been nothing but gold since he showed up. I mean, I'm totally impressed with him. I think he's got a big future ahead of him. I'd like to see him pick up some more significant wins to mean a little more than he does now, but he's on a good path. He's in a stable. He's got a good mouthpiece, does great in-ring work, but he is not going to beat Will Ospreay in his debut.
Not at all. Ospreay goes over and gets out of the family quickly.
Yeah. Out before he's even really in, because I don't really think I think that Don already was kind of overstepping on Wednesday night, and so we'll see that rift continue, and maybe that continues into a storyline that automatically spins off where other members of the family take their turn to punish Ospreay for not falling in line, as it were. I wouldn't be surprised. I definitely will not be surprised by this finish, because obvious who's winning this. I wouldn't be surprised though, Doug, if this ends up being the match of the night. That's how good both these talents are.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be lower on the card, but could be the sleeper choice to steal the show from the bigger names.
Man, I look at the lineup and, FTR, BCC, Osprey, Takeshita, even Danielson, Kingston. So many of these I think have potential to be match of the night. I mean,
yes,
this is really a loaded, you said it, this is a loaded card, man.
Now that we're in championship matches, let's go ahead and talk about the one that you just brought up. Eddie Kingston, Mad King versus Bryan Danielson for the Continental Crown Championship, which still ask me right now to name all the titles that they rolled up into that, and I don't know. But I don't. Eddie's so great with that. I know Daniel Bryan, even at his age, is probably the best wrestler on the planet still. I look back at how many times my match of the week has gone to Bryan Danielson, despite the amount of time he's been out with injury. Definitely has a chance to be a show stealer also. I still think, though, that Eddie holds this one.
Yeah, I think so too. I was kind of on them a few weeks ago because I was like, both of them are better than this, and I did not like the way things had turned in this feud. But I think things have been kind of course corrected, and they're back on track now, at least for me, because it's something went sour for me for a while there. But I think, especially after last night, things are like the ship has been righted, and I'm looking forward to Eddie being Eddie and Brian really putting him over, because I got to agree with you here too. I mean, I'm not sure where we're going to deviate in this in these cards tonight, but we're pretty much lockstep right now.
There's only 30 more matches. I'm sure one of them we'll disagree upon. And they're all championship matches.
They're all championship matches. Oh, and incidentally, Wikipedia does have all the. It's the AEW Continental Championship, the ROH World Championship, and the New Japan Strong Championship.
Tony Khan has so many championships and championship matches, he has to actually roll 3 or 4 of them together in a single match
from multiple companies. Even.
Doug, let's talk the TNT Championship. Christian Cage defending that title against Daniel Garcia. Christian Cage, apparently, whose gimmick is, I will feud against anyone who has a dead father. I'm not sure what to make of.
It's
that's his
true.
Stick. That's his stick. And I hate to admit that he's actually really good at it.
He is very good at it, man. It kind of reminds me of how Jericho was always great about reinventing himself. Cage has done that with this character.
He has. And I don't necessarily like that real life aspect of someone losing someone. But, there's Mama Wayne, the widow, and her son right next to him. I mean, I know they sign off on these things. Daniel Garcia he's had a moment this year. I mean, I think for me, from the maybe last year and a half, from the moment we saw him and Daniel Bryan put that match on in person, the esteem I have for Garcia rose that night. And I think his character work has gotten so much better too. He's figured out that part of it. This one's a little hard for me to call because Christian has totally owned this heel character, this I want to be everyone's daddy character. I think though that this might be Garcia's time. No, you're kidding me. Lockstep again.
Because of everything you just said, and the fact that Copeland has been, basically taken out, right? Edge will help Garcia, not in like the heel, but he'll kind of, I'm going to run in when the ref's not looking. It probably will be a run in when the ref's not looking, but he will help to clear out the Cage family or whatever they're called, the patriarchy. He'll help clear out the patriarchy, and then Garcia will be able to take advantage of that. Nail a finisher and get the 1, 2, 3, and then Edge and Christian can continue to feud without a belt, because Edge and Christian do not need a belt to feud, because they're Edge and Christian, even though it's Adam Copeland and Christian Cage here, but they don't need that. And, that even takes the heat off of Garcia so that he can then run with the belt and take it in a new direction. And those dudes, take off and do their own feuding.
See, that's what I love about Doug. I make predictions and then Doug books the show. I say who's going to win and Doug tells you how it's going to happen and where they're going to next.
I got 6 months of storyline ready for these guys. Tony, call me.
I actually like every bit of what you said and agree that that's likely the way it'll go down. As you said, Daniel Garcia at this point in his development, I think needs that championship more than Christian does to continue what Christian is currently doing. So
right. Yeah.
I think that's the way it'll go down. Doug, let's talk the AEW International Championship.
Which one is that? Who has it?
That is Orange Cassidy.
Oh, okay, Orange Cat. Okay. There's too many belts. I can't.
And Roderick Strong.
Okay. Wait a minute.
That's one where like Orange Cassidy has been that champ for, I know he lost it briefly and then gained it back. And he's just almost synonymous with that title. I don't know. It would be cool to see Roddy with the belt, I think, but I don't know that that's going to happen.
This one's a little hard too, because I would like to see Roddy with the belt. Taven and Bennett have the ROH tag team championships, right?
I believe so. Yes.
So, that would bring a little bit more gold to the undisputed kingdom.
Yeah.
But, you still got Wardlow, which I don't understand why he's in the undisputed kingdom. And Adam Cole can't wrestle yet. So, I'm going to go with Orange. Yeah. I'm going to go with Orange. Keeps it. We'll get a little chaos help, I think, for Orange to just kind of set the balance there. Again, we're going to have run-ins because everybody's in a stable and everybody's got friends. So, but I think this will be another one where things are offset and Orange will be able to continue this belt, because it's kind of Orange's belt, really.
Yeah, it is. It's Orange's belt, and I don't think it's time for him to part with it just yet. I know he's had it for a while. I don't know that Roddy's the right. I could go either way on this. You brought up a good point about his stable mates having championships. I guess I don't know if Tony sees that in Roddy. Right. I think maybe more comic relief is how he sees Roddy, which, I mean, to Roddy's credit, it used to be a knock against him that the man can wrestle, but he's not very big and he doesn't have personality. He's showing personality.
Absolutely.
In spades now. But yeah, I'm going Orange also.
And I think this could also, because I'm going to, book the next 6 months of this too. This could also, lead to like a nice little stable feud for a while to kind of be a placeholder until MJF is healed and until Adam Cole is healed and until Wardlow does whatever he's going to do in the meantime there too. And then everybody kind of converges and then goes after the championships again. So I think yeah, Orange Cassidy and friends.
Orange Cassidy and friends. Doug, I wish I could figure out how to turn the screen, at least my half, black and white here as we talk about this next match.
Oh, yes.
But
very cool.
It'd be great to have us on split screen and one of us in black and white and the other in all color. But we have to talk the Women's World Championship with timeless Toni Storm defending against Diana Purrazzo, the Virtuosa. Man, I can't wait for this match. They have done a great job of building this one up. Two fantastic female performers, two people totally in command of their characters, real life friendship that they were able to tap into. I mean, they got matching tattoos, for goodness sakes.
I know.
Everything about this build up has been perfect, including how it's tied into Deanna's basically entrance into AEW.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if we're in lockstep here, Doug. I'd love me some timeless Toni Storm, but I believe. Yep.
Let me just say, Diana Purrazzo is the same for me as Sasha Banks. I will not bet against the boss, and I will not bet against Diana. However, if Mercedes Moné shows up in AEW, which I'm almost certain she will, I'm going to have a problem with that because I'm not going to be able to pick a champion or a winner then because I don't bet against either one of those girls. But yeah, I think we're in lockstep here.
She's still new to the, I mean, we old school, like those of us who watch other promotions, if you're, if you followed her on the Indies, Ring of Honor, TNA, we all have known the great work that Deonna has done. For many people, this might be the first time they've seen her, and I don't think they want to break her undefeated streak and momentum by having her take a loss, even if it is early on in her time, and even if it is for a championship. I think she's going to take Tony by surprise. And because she is such a great character, it's an easy rebound for her to just like go completely off the deep end. Luther will have to tend to her for days. She will lose nothing from the revenge she will be cooking up in a very 1930s old school way.
It's a very Cruella DeVille kind of way.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be something that she hasn't had a chance to do since she's been the champion, that she can sink her teeth into with this character, while Deonna can spin off and have what I hope to be a soon to be feud with the returning Sienna. I've lost the name. Serena Deeb.
Serena Deeb, yes.
Yes. I want to see those two in a championship match, an iron, let's make it an iron woman match and have them like go an hour or something. I think there's a lot that you could do with the Virtuosa, and you hinted to it. If Mercedes Moné is coming in, it would look pretty darn good on paper to have her come in with a dominant champion like Peraza on top, as opposed to more of a chicken champion like Tony Storm.
And, old school booking says that whoever goes over on the go home show is automatically losing anyway. So,
well, there's that. Yeah, there's that. All right, Doug, I think we're halfway through the card. No. Entering hour 4 of the card. We have 2 matches left, Doug. Let's actually take it out of order. Let's save the tag match till last.
I think. Aren't you thinking the tag match is going to be the main event? I mean, I know there's a championship match here, but I'm thinking that tag match will be the main event since it's Sting's final match. So
that's one of the reasons I wanted to save it to last, because it could be last, and it also gives us a chance to talk about Sting. So let's talk about the triple threat for the AEW World Championship. Champion Samoa Joe taking on Hangman Adam Page, Swerve Strickland. And kudos, first of all, to Hangman Adam Page, reeling me into thinking like, oh man,
I guess world in.
Man, I thought it was going to be a one-on-one. I totally believed that. Oh, that sucks. He's out of the match. That was great. And I know you and I both have been a little vocal about the fact that as great as their feud was, maybe it's time to move away from Strickland versus Hangman. The added element of the title here changes it a bit for me.
It changes things for me too, but I do have some issues with the segment last night, but from the week before, when he's like injured and the entire internet wrestling community is like, oh my god, Hangman is now injured too, and then somebody tweets that, oh no, he's just good at his job, which gets of course Jerry Lynn all fired up. Come on. But there was for a brief period of time where I'm like, oh, okay, I know he's not actually hurt, but he's selling it like he is hurt for whatever reason. So we are going to go to a one-on-one here. Maybe Swerve is getting so over. This is it, Yeah. Let's make it a one-on-one. Of course, now that this has happened, I have a completely different idea of who's coming out on top of this.
Well, see, go ahead. Oh, I want to hear your booking plans.
So hold on just a second. Okay. I had to text Tony about something real quick. I think that Hangman goes over here and Hangman goes full heel after this. He's already got his evil heel mustache going on. But Hangman goes full heel, goes over, and this gives Swerve the opportunity to shift into a more babyface and chase that title. I'm not sure what happens to Joe. I haven't got that booking yet, but I'm saying Hangman goes over.
That's interesting. So we here at the very end have our first
there we go
disagreement. I have been torn as to whether or not they were going to keep the title on Joe or if it's Swerve's time, because it's clearly been Swerve Strickland's house for a while now. And
Absolutely.
This would be the next step. My hesitation of a title change only rests on would they want to end on Sting's retirement? And if they do, does that mean they wouldn't want to change their largest championship as an afterthought before that happens? Wouldn't you want to have a title change of a world title league being the last thing that people see? That's where I'm torn. But I think, I mean, Joe's been great as that champion that needed to fill that spot while MJF, had to exit a little early because of injury. And I don't think this is insulting the man because he has a career record he could stand on. But I do think that Joe himself probably realizes at this stage in his career, he was just a transition to whatever's next. And I think Strickland's what's next. So I'm going to go Strickland.
I just don't think I definitely think Swerve is ready. I think that, I don't know. I still don't understand what Hangman's plan was with that whole thing, but how he was trying to swerve or whatever. But I think we're going to get a full-on Hangman heel, just like we've got full-on Bucks heels right now. But Hangman with his like creepy mustache guy, Hangman's going full-on heel. We're just seeing the beginning of it, and then Swerve's got the people behind him. Swerve's going to be going babyface because even his promo was sort of babyface, but then talks about all the things he has done to become champion and will do. Yeah, so many tweeners in this company.
So Doug and I have our first disagreement of the card. But we are both in agreement that if you tune in on Sunday, you're going to see a world title change, folks. It just, who's it going to?
This is true. Yep, this is true. Joe will do the. I don't even know. Joe will do the job. Somebody's doing the job, and Joe's losing the belt.
Let us wait and see, and then apologize to Samoa Joe when we're back on air and he's still world champion.
Sorry, sir. Sorry, the only Samoan who's not in the bloodline.
Yeah, that's what he gets. Doug, one more match to go. Let's talk the World Tag Team Championship match, a possible main event just because of the ramifications of Sting's retirement. Your champions, Sting and Darby Allin, who just won those titles against the Young Bucks. Matthew and Nicholas.
Don't you think they should just be called the Bucks now? They should elevate. They're no longer Young Bucks.
No, young. Yeah,
they're just the Bucks now. No real knock against their age or anything like that, but just that they're the Bucks now. They're more distinguished. They're EVPs,
the EVP Bucks, the executive Bucks.
Exactly.
I have found their shtick pretty funny. They're I don't know if maybe it's a little too insider baseball to be playing up the fact that your executives maybe aren't the nicest people backstage. I don't know if that's somewhat of a rib to CM Punk over on the other channel. Mm-hmm. I haven't hated it. I've been glad to see the Bucks actually give something with some purpose behind it, because I felt like they were fairly aimless for a lot of 2023. As talented as they were, they have definitely sunk their teeth into this. Tony Khan has already said Sting's going to go out however he wants. Tony Khan famously said, I'm not going to book it. If he wants to go out on top, he's going out on top. If he wants to go out on his back, which is kind of a tradition in wrestling that you pass the baton. I think Sting's old school enough that I think that the Young Bucks are actually going to win here.
Oh, I absolutely think that that's what's going to happen. You know, hello, Ruckus. the Bucks, the Bucks will go over. You know, Sting might even take the pin. Well, Sting, you know, because like you said, he's old school. You know, that's the
Yeah.
way he's going to go out. You
Yeah,
know,
he probably wants that.
yeah, and you know, he wanted his last match to be with the Bucks too. So, you know, Darby can go back to. I've always joked, oh, here's Darby and his dad, or you know, Darby and his uncle Sting, or whatever. But you know, Darby will no longer have his you know his older gentleman companion with him, and can get back to doing solo Darby stuff full time, and then the Bucks can be the Bucks and raise a ruckus.
Obviously, the Bucks are in a great position to be step right in to any sort of program as world champions, who are also the executives making the decisions. There's a lot of storyline possibilities there that write itself. Sting's retiring, so if he were to win, then you just would have a defunct tag team.
Right. It just doesn't make sense. And you know,
except for the fact that Tony Khan loves having tournaments, and it would just give Tony a chance to do a tag team tournament starting
Kevin,
on Dynamite.
You were so right. We could have the inaugural Icon tag team tournament.
We'll combine those with the Ring of Honor tag team championships, as well as the CMLL tag team championships.
And the WWE like women's, tag team champions for whatever reason.
Just because we can. I do think Tony is such a mark for this business, Tony Khan, that he very likely is trying to talk Sting and going out on top, because Tony's going to be there in his Sting shirt chanting Sting's name. He would be fine to have that tournament on Dynamite. But as we both seem to agree on, I think that it's Sting who is going to be like, no, I've had a good run. Let's let the younger guys go over. Even though, to your point, the Young Bucks aren't exactly young anymore, but it does make a lot more of an easy transition. Sting will get the standing O at the end of everything anyway. It's not like people are going to care that he loses.
Exactly. And we really haven't talked about the flair of it all yet either, because
that's because we only remembered Ric Flair was involved in all this like a week and a half ago, when he shows back up upset that he was gifted to a man and then just wasn't around for months.
Or maybe Sting kept him in the basement until last week. I don't know.
I did like the Sting coming from the rafters. Dude, I mean, that was
classic. Vintage Sting. But
I mean, Flair is sticking around beyond. His contract with AEW is not dependent on Sting being around. So, the dirtiest player in the game could always factor into this and not be the friend of Sting that we thought he is,
and the whole thing,
old school rival.
Exactly. I'm wondering because again, Tony's a mark. Tony's such a mark. How much does that play into it? Has Flair been working this angle all along? Is it part of, even the recent interactions where he turns on the Bucks? Is that just part of a big swerve to, bring Sting even closer? And then when he's not leaving looking, boom, little bit of dirtiest player in the game doing what he does best, and the Bucks get the 1, 2, 3.
Totally can see that. And honestly, from storyline perspective, moving out, Sting's going away. It would give Flair something to do and put more heat on the new champions. A lot of reasons I can see the old school Sting going like, this is better for business. I'm stepping aside. There's no storyline reason for me to win just because it's my final match.
Right. Exactly.
So let's talk about the fact that, since we're in agreement here, that Sting goes out doing the honors, as they say.
Right.
Let's talk about Sting for a minute, Doug, before we hit our big finish. Okay. At the time, back in the 80s when he first showed up, I was not the biggest Sting fan.
Yeah.
But looking at the body of work and what he's done through the years, I think as time went on and he managed to grow with the times, change with the times, and for a man in his 60s, still doesn't embarrassing himself when he goes out there. I've kind of had a new respect for Sting. Really, a lot of it from this recent run.
Absolutely, because even this stuff like into TNA, you know, there's a part of me that really wanted to like Crow Sting, like in WCW, and even like, you know, like Wolfpack, you know, the red and black Sting. But you know, I just couldn't. There was just something about Sting. Although my grandmother seemed to think I was a big Sting stan for some reason.
I remember
but,
that.
but you know, it was wrestling, so whatever.
Here's your Sting shirt. Yeah,
exactly. But you know, I was just never got behind that character. And this run here, where you start looking back and going, this dude is really something special, you know. And did I miss it? Did I miss it? Was he not booked the way like younger me like would absorb it? Because I don't know, don't even know what it was. I mean, even like when he was doing Joker Sting in TNA, that was kind of cool, but still not quite right, you know.
Yeah, I wasn't a big Sting mark for most of of his time in wrestling, but can definitely appreciate what he gave to the business, and seeing how he even worked in WWE when he finally made it to WWE, working with Seth Rollins, having good matches even at his age.
Yes.
I definitely realized that there's something special about him that maybe I had also missed out upon. There was no doubt that he was on my radar when he first showed up. I loved his work with Ric Flair. Obviously, that's one of the, if you ask me to, you know, what moments do I have when I think of Sting, it's Flair, Sting, Clash of Champions, when you know, Flair was the best in the world at that time, and because of that, made Sting a made man that night. And how great that match was as a fan to see on TV, like free TV. I didn't see that quality of match very often back in those days. And then, of course, his battles with the NWO is the only real, like, legitimate threat WCW had. That was also memorable. And then this run, honestly, when he returned and has gone off rather gracefully into the sunset. He doesn't feel like that old guy that stuck around way too long. Why don't you go away? I don't think that there's going to be anybody booing Sting on Sunday night. I think there'll be nothing but love and appreciation.
Absolutely. And I'm certain, because you talked about it already, you know, he will do a bit of a crazy spot. you know,
why not? What do you got to lose?
Yeah,
he's the last night.
He's gonna. I don't see him doing a coffin drop or anything like that. But you know, I may be completely wrong about that.
He's done a few things in this run that surprised me, whether it's coming out of a balcony or something else at his age. I'm like, as safe as that might have been to be protected there, that's still a risk that a man your age should not be taking.
Yes.
But he's pulling it off. So kudos to you, Sting. Thank you, Sting.
Thank you, Sting.
If this truly is the end, and I can't imagine, I think that if there's somebody who's going to mostly keep to his word, you might have an appearance or two, but I think that this might actually be it. He had that one last run in WWE. He doesn't need the money. He's now done this with Tony and AEW to do something a little different. He's already done the TNA thing. I don't know that there's much else for Sting to do other than the occasional appearance. I think he'll stay retired.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Steve Borden is going off into the sunset, man. I really do.
And well-deserved. Enjoy that retirement, Sting. We'll enjoy watching this final appearance. I'm actually looking forward to it.
Indeed.
Big finish time, Doug.
Let's do it.
I know we had a bit of a shorter week, but there's plenty in the world of wrestling to talk about. I'm going to start with my botch. I know typically we go botch just so we can end more positively.
Yep.
Doug, last week when we had our last show, when we were doing our WWE Elimination Chamber review, you said you didn't like the name The New Catch Republic.
Right.
I do not mind it at all, but I mentioned how NXT had just done something similar. And I was reminded of that on Tuesday night when the faction led by Drew Gulak was featured prominently in the main event. They are the No Quarter Catch Club. I know the No Quarter Catch Crew.
Okay. So
It's a faction. It has like four or five guys in it. Miles Bourne is one. Charlie Dempsey, Drew Gulak. You can have. I don't hate No Quarter Catch Crew either, but I'll give you either New Catch Republic or No Quarter Catch Crew. You can't have both.
I think both those names are dumb. I just don't like them. I mean, there's a lot of money that goes into WWE creative. We know they just made a lot of money in the last quarter. They could hire somebody. They could use Chat GPT and come up with better stable names for wrestlers. But having said that, I do have to agree with you. You can't have both.
You can't have both. It's like having the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Rockers. I'm like, come on, you already have one version of this. You can't have another. At least those were different companies. Like, we know NXT fans are everywhere. Tiffany Stratton's reception that she got at the Elimination Chamber shows that you can't get away with doing Catch in two of your names.
Yeah, I'm with you there, man. So, man, I touched on this because I like my themes. So this is going to be an AEW theme since we're doing predictions, but a lot of this is going to come. Actually, all this is going to come from last night too. That Hangman thing, I know I touched on it earlier. What was he thinking? I mean, what was the point of that? What was the plan that I'm going to fake this injury to lure Swerve out here and then go, I got you. It is the three-way. What was the plan? That part doesn't make sense. I think we're trying to get from A to C, but we jumped over B because I think C is Hangman as a heel. A is Hangman with crutches, being a really good actor who made like the entire wrestling internet community think he was legit injured. What was the plan? I don't understand. It doesn't make sense. It needs to make sense. It didn't make sense. My brain hurts.
Are you saying Tony skipped a step?
I'm saying Tony, Tony should have made an announcement about this, Kevin.
Special announcement.
Right?
Doug, how about Performer? I know you said yours is all AEW based. Mine's not. I'll let you do your Performer and I'll switch to the other federation.
So this is Sting just for Sting being Sting. Because when he did drop from the rafters, I was like, okay, yeah, there's that Crow Sting I remember that, I wanted to get behind back in the day because, it's the Crow. He's dark and twisty. I'm young and angsty. I like dark and twisty too. Therefore, Crow Sting is cool, but Crow Sting just wasn't quite cool for some reason. It was too much of
But he was last night.
But he was last night, man. I mean, he was last night, and it's his final Dynamite. I gotta just give a nod to Sting for his entire AEW run.
Man, I want to change. My Performer of the Week is what Doug said because that's actually the right choice. I was going to go Drew McIntyre, but that makes a lot more sense. But I did want to call out Drew just for the fact that he is very silently stealing the show from the big names. I know that it's all about right now Cody, Roman, and The Rock and that saga with a little bit of Seth Rollins sprinkled in. But if you look under the hood, man, it's Drew McIntyre everywhere. He's the agitator with CM Punk. He is the one putting doubts in the head of Cody Rhodes. He's the one that has been baiting Seth Rollins. Obviously, he had a big moment by winning the Rumble. And the thing about a great heel, not just being good at delivering those lines, but the best villains are those that actually speak the truth. And everything that's coming out of Drew McIntyre's mouth, it would be hard to deny as being true. He's killing them with the truth, and it has been sublimely perfect. And I just want to call out that Drew McIntyre is doing a bang-up job right now on WWE television.
The best villains are the ones that don't know they're villains.
Yeah,
he's a hero,
and he's in it, and he's weaved himself into so many stories. Heck, even the main event, Jay, by the end, he was in Jay's face, and he's been everywhere, and that's not too much of it. I would take more of it. He has been that good. This is the best he has been since his original hot streak that led to his world championship victory. He's been a little aimless after he lost that title first go around, and I love what they're doing with him now.
Do you think this push and all the attention he's getting right now is because his contract will soon be up and he is still in negotiation? Is this a whole bunch of, hey, look what you can be. Look, this is what we're willing to do for you. You think it's a little bit of that, a little sweetening the pot to get him to go ahead and sign on that dotted line?
Oh, it's either that or indication that he's already signed on that dotted line.
Yeah,
which is somewhat rumored as well. And this might be, they could turn into a storyline beyond WrestleMania. If, you got a world champion who, and I'm not getting ahead of myself with those predictions, but if he comes out with the title and also is maybe leaving because his contract's up, you got an MJF situation. That's a storyline that is based on something that at one point looked to be true.
Yeah, you got the summer of McIntyre. You just take that championship home, and stick it in his fridge.
Well, you not only would, and again, this would be getting into our Mania predictions later, but you got CM Punk returning at some point that would have instant beef. You have Cody Rhodes, who would obviously champion versus champion possibly there, or a lot of ways you can go with it, but Drew is in the mix. He is not a second-tier player. For a while there, he looked like he'd fallen from main event to be in that top middle card. He looks main event again to me.
Yep.
But your call for Performer of the Week, Sting, cannot argue it.
Stinger. What about
match of the week?
Yeah, what about match? What you got?
So I'm going to go. I'll let you end on an AEW because I know you said you've got it all tied around the theme of upcoming Revolution. But for me, the match of the week was Noam Dar versus Charlie Dempsey, with Regal Williams' son taking the Heritage Cup away from an extremely impressive run by Dar. Dar's underrated, in my opinion. His work with the Heritage Cup has been prime. I love the Heritage Cup concept, the whole rounds system that they use, it being almost like for those who are not familiar with NXT's current version of NXT, I would say, in the Heritage Cup, think maybe more like a Ring of Honor with the pure title. It's very much the Technical Wrestlers Championship in NXT. And because of that, William Regal's son is an excellent choice to take it. Charlie Dempsey, if you're not yet familiar, you will be. The man has it in his DNA. Dar put him over like a champ. I think there was something like 600-700 days total that Dar had the title, so it actually meant something when it happened. Dempsey's victory is a victory for the New Quarter Catch Crew.
Oh man, no. No. So they really can't go with Blackpool Combat Club. So
it's true.
All right.
Even though the man from Blackpool's actually there, but
exactly.
I digress.
Oh,
Doug,
gosh.
match of the week.
So, man, I talked about this one earlier too, and I think this is just a little sprinkling, a little appetizer of what we're going to get at the pay-per-view from these guys. But you got Blackpool. Speaking of Blackpool Combat Club against FTR with Eddie Kingston. I think it started out a little not clunky, but it just kind of didn't get out of first gear for a while. But man, when it did, it's like boom, 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 and you see what we're going to get this weekend. I got to give it to that 6-man from last night.
Yeah, that was a great match, no question about it. Highly recommend either catching that one. Actually, I recommend catching both. Catch that one. Go watch NXT. Make sure you see that Heritage Cup title match, and make sure you watch Revolution this weekend, because now we have you ready. And you know that Doug and I agree on all 50 matches except one.
Except one.
I mean, which is only like 40 minutes of the 6-hour presentation that you can anticipate on Sunday.
Right. And 1 out of 49 ain't bad.
We kid, Tony. We love it. We can't wait to see what we have in store for Sunday. As a reminder, whenever you're watching this, if you're not watching this live, but watching this hopefully before Revolution, we will not be on Sunday night as normal. We will return on March the 10th. next Sunday. And for that, we are going to be talking Iron Claw. It is Oscar night when we are back on, and we are going to talk the movie that got snubbed that should have been in the awards show conversation. We're going to talk about everything, what we thought about Iron Claw, how realistic it was, the portrayals, where they deviated from the actual story. The actual story, in some ways, is way stranger even than the strange movie on screen.
And a lot more depressing, which is saying something. I mean, my goodness.
Is why you need to tune in, especially if you've seen the movie, and give us your thoughts. That's March 10th.
March 10th.
March 10th. And then after that, Doug, we are all Mania all the time. Clear on up through the big weekend. That's going to be every topic. And then, of course, the weekend itself will be all over WrestleMania with our coverage. More to come on what all we will be doing. Definitely stay tuned for that. We'll hit you up on March 10th. Until then, thanks for watching, everyone.
Go watch some wrestling, everybody. See ya.